You understand the gravity of this task. Failure is not an option.
I will not fail them. My resolve is as deep as this river.
Amara's fingers trembled as she crushed the dried hibiscus petals into powder. Across the dim hut, her mentor, Mama Khadija, watched with eyes that seemed to pierce through flesh and bone. Those eyes had frightened Amara when she first arrived at the medicine woman's compound 3 years ago, but now, at 16, she understood them as the mark of true power. "You crush too hard," Mama Khadija said, her voice smooth as palm oil. "Medicine requires gentleness. Force breaks the spirit of the plant." Amara loosened her grip, embarrassed. Even after countless lessons, she still made foolish mistakes. Mama Khadija never shouted, never struck her as other masters did their apprentices. Instead, she corrected with patience that felt almost maternal, which made disappointing her hurt even more. "Forgive me, Mama." "There is nothing to forgive, child. You learn." The old woman rose from her stool, her wrapper cloth rustling like dry leaves. She moved to the window where dawn light filtered through. "Tomorrow, we climb to the peak of Egodo Mountain." Amara's heart jumped. The peak? In 3 years, Mama Khadija had never taken her beyond the forest's edge. The mountain was sacred, forbidden to all but the most powerful healers. Stories claimed that ancestors whispered secrets there, that the boundary between the living and the dead grew thin as smoke. "Am I ready?" Amara whispered. Mama Khadija turned, and something flickered across her face. Too quick to name. "You are more ready than you know. At the peak, I will reveal the final secret. The source of my power. The reason I have never aged, never weakened, while other healers crumble into dust." Amara had wondered about this. Mama Khadija claimed to be 67, yet her skin remained smooth, her back straight, her eyes sharp. Other village elders bent like broken branches, but Mama Khadija stood tall as a queen. People whispered about it, some with admiration, others with fear. Will I receive this power too? That depends on whether you are truly ready to sacrifice for greatness. Mama Khadija's smile didn't reach her eyes. Power always demands payment, Amara. Always. Those who refuse to pay remain ordinary forever. "I will pay any price to become like you, Mama." The words tumbled out before Amara could stop them, earnest and desperate. She meant them. Her own mother had died screaming in childbirth, blood pooling beneath her while the village healer stood helpless, muttering useless prayers. Amara had been 8 years old, watching through a crack in the door, swearing she would never be that powerless. When Mama Khadija arrived in their village 2 years later and offered to train her, Amara's father had wept with relief. One less mouth to feed. One daughter with a future. "Good," Mama Khadija said softly. "Then we leave at first light. Bring nothing but yourself. No water, no food. What we need, the mountain will provide." That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She lay on her mat, staring at the thatched roof, imagining what secrets awaited. Would she learn to call rain? To speak with the dead? To heal wounds that would kill ordinary people? Through the thin wall, she heard Mama Khadija moving about, humming an old tune that raised goosebumps on Amara's arms. The melody was beautiful and wrong at the same time, like honey laced with poison. Outside, night creatures called to each other. An owl hooted 3 times, "Bad luck," her grandmother would have said. But her grandmother was dead now, like her mother, like everyone who had ever tried to protect her. Amara rolled onto her side, pulling her thin blanket closer. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, she would become powerful enough that death could never steal from her again. She didn't notice Mama Khadija standing in the doorway, watching her with an expression caught between hunger and regret. When dawn broke, Amara woke to find Mama Khadija already dressed, a small leather pouch tied to her waist. The old woman's face looked different somehow, sharper, more angular, as if something beneath the skin was pressing outward. "Are you ready?" Mama Khadija asked. Amara nodded, rising quickly. She had slept in her clothes, too excited to bother changing. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. They left the compound in silence, walking past the village where Amara had once lived. A few early risers saw them and whispered behind their hands. Everyone knew that when Mama Khadija took someone to the mountain, they returned changed, if they returned at all. The path to Agodo Mountain cut through dense forest where ancient trees blocked out the sky. Mama Khadija moved with surprising speed, her feet finding purchase on roots and rocks that Amara stumbled over. Twice, the girl nearly fell, but each time, Mama Khadija's hand shot out to steady her. "Careful," the old woman murmured. "I need you whole." Something about those words felt strange, but Amara pushed the thought away. She was being paranoid. Mama Khadija had been nothing but kind to her, patient when others would have beaten her for mistakes, generous with knowledge that most healers guarded jealously. As they climbed higher, the air grew thinner, cooler. Amara's lungs burned, but she refused to complain. If this was a test of worthiness, she would pass. Finally, after what felt like hours, they emerged onto a flat expanse of rock. The mountain peak. Below them, the world spread out like a cloth, villages like scattered seeds, rivers like silver threads, forests like dark bruises on the land. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Mama Khadija said, but she wasn't looking at the view. She was looking at Amara. "Yes, Mama."
"Come.
"Stand here, at the center." Amara obeyed, moving to where Mama Khadija pointed. The rock beneath her feet felt warm, almost alive. Strange symbols had been carved into the stone in a circle, and at the circle's center, dark stains that looked disturbingly like old blood. "Now," Mama Khadija said, her voice changing, becoming something cold and hard. "Now I will show you the truth." Mama Khadija began to circle Amara slowly, like a predator assessing prey. The warmth in her eyes had vanished, replaced by something ancient and hungry. "Do you know why I chose you?" the old woman asked. Amara's throat tightened. This wasn't how she'd imagined this moment. "Because I showed promise?"
No.
Mama Khadija laughed, but it was a bitter sound. "Because you were desperate. Because you were young. Because your life force burns brighter than anyone I've encountered in 20 years. I don't understand." "You will." Mama Khadija stopped walking, standing just outside the circle of symbols. "I told you power demands payment. What I didn't tell you is who pays the price." Cold dread began to seep through Amara's body. She tried to step out of the circle, but her feet wouldn't move. Looking down, she saw the symbols glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. "What did you do to me? What I've done to 7 girls before you." Mama Khadija's voice held no regret, only a terrible pragmatism. "Every 15 years, my power fades. The youth I stole begins to return to its rightful owner, death. To renew myself, I need a vessel. Someone young, strong, pure. Someone who trusts me completely." Amara's mind reeled. 7 girls. 15 years each. That meant Mama Khadija had been doing this for over a century. "You're going to kill me." Kill is such a crude word. Mama Khadija tilted her head, almost thoughtful. "I'm going to transfer your life force into myself. Your youth, your vitality, your remaining years. All of it will become mine. You'll age rapidly, decades passing in moments, until there's nothing left but dust." Tears streamed down Amara's face. Why tell me? Why not just do it? For the first time, something like pain crossed Mama Khadija's features. Because the ritual requires confession. The victim must understand the betrayal fully for the transfer to work. Innocence dilutes the power. Awareness concentrates it. "I trusted you." Amara's voice broke. "I loved you like a mother." "I know." And Mama Khadija's voice actually trembled. "That's what makes it work. Every girl I've taken loved me. Afalake, Zainab, Chidinma, Nkechi, Funmi, Yatund, Blessing. All of them trusted me completely. All of them called me Mama." She recited the names like a prayer, like an apology to ghosts. "You remember their names," Amara whispered. "I remember everything. Their laughter, their dreams, the exact moment their eyes changed from trust to understanding to terror." Mama Khadija's hands shook. "I remember because forgetting would make me a monster. Remembering makes me merely a survivor. You are a monster. Perhaps. Mama Khadija pulled a curved knife from her pouch, its blade stained dark with old use. But I am an alive monster. When I was your age, my own mentor brought me to this very spot. She confessed the same truth. I begged, just as you're about to beg. She took my life anyway. Amara's legs gave out, but the invisible force held her upright. Then stop, break the cycle, and become what? An old woman who dies forgotten. Mama Khadija's voice turned sharp. I have seen things, learned things, achieved things that would have been impossible in one lifetime. I have saved hundreds of lives with my knowledge. The 7 I've taken, their sacrifice served a greater purpose. That's what you tell yourself to sleep at night? I don't sleep much anymore. Mama Khadija raised the knife, positioning herself at the circle's edge. The dreams are too loud. But I wake up, and I continue, because continuation is what the powerful do. The weak make excuses. The strong make sacrifices of others. Amara felt her body beginning to change. Her fingers looked thinner somehow, the skin loosening. Panic clawed at her throat. Please, she whispered. Please, Mama. I'll do anything. I'll never tell anyone. I'll serve you forever. Just let me live. They all said that too. Mama Khadija's eyes glistened with tears that didn't fall. And I almost believed blessing. She was so bright, so full of life. For 3 days, I stood at this mountain's base, trying to find another way. But there is no other way. There never has been. Then you're choosing this. Don't blame your mentor or fate or necessity. You're choosing to murder me. The words hit like stones, and Mama Khadija flinched. Yes, she said finally. I am choosing. I am choosing my life over yours, my power over your potential, my continuation over your beginning. And in 15 years, I will choose again and again until someone finally stops me or I find the courage to stop myself. Coward, Amara spat. Yes, Mama Khadija agreed. The worst kind. The kind who knows exactly what she is and does it anyway. She began to chant in a language older than memory, words that tasted of iron and ash on the wind. The symbols around Amara blazed brighter, and she felt her life beginning to flow out like water from a cracked pot. Her hair started to gray at the roots. Her smooth skin began to wrinkle. Her strong bones started to ache. I curse you, Amara gasped out as 20 years fled her body in seconds. I curse you to remember me every day. To see my face in every girl you meet. To hear my voice in every scream. I already do, Mama Khadija whispered, but she didn't stop chanting. 30 years gone. Amara's back bent. 40 years. Her teeth loosened. 50 years. Her vision blurred. May you live forever, Amara's ancient voice croaked, and may forever feel like drowning. Then her knees buckled, and the force holding her up released. She crumpled to the stone, a withered thing that had been a vibrant girl moments before. Mama Khadija completed the final words of the ritual and staggered as fresh power flooded her veins. Her skin tightened, her hair darkened, her eyes cleared. She looked 30 again, perhaps younger. She looked down at what remained of Amara and felt nothing. Not because she was heartless, but because feeling everything at once had learned to feel like nothing at all. With practiced efficiency, she scattered the ashes that had once been her apprentice to the mountain winds. They would become part of the soil, feeding the flowers that grew here, beautiful and brief. Then Mama Khadija began the long walk down, already composing the story she would tell the village. A tragic accident.
A fall.
A young girl's promise cut short by cruel fate. They would believe her. They always did. Behind her, on the mountain peak, the symbols faded back into the stone, waiting for the next confession, the next betrayal, the next girl who would trust the wrong person. Mama Khadija didn't return to her compound immediately. Instead, she walked to the river that cut through the forest, needing to wash the mountain dust from her skin. But when she looked into the water's reflection, 8 faces stared back at her. 7 dead girls and her younger self, before the first ritual had stolen her innocence along with her years. She stumbled backward, but the faces followed, shimmering in the water like ghosts. Afalik smiled sadly. Zainab's eyes held accusation. Chidinma wept silent tears. And Amara stared with an expression of profound betrayal that cut deeper than any knife. "You're not real," Mama Khadija whispered. "You're guilt. Just guilt." But Amara's reflection moved its lips. "May you live forever, and may forever feel like drowning." The curse. Amara had cursed her with her final breath. Mama Khadija fled the river, her renewed youth suddenly feeling like a prison rather than a gift. She reached her compound as dusk fell, but the familiar hut offered no comfort. Everywhere she looked, she saw Amara, grinding herbs at the mortar, sleeping on her mat, laughing at a joke Mama Khadija had told. "She's gone," Mama Khadija said to the empty room. "Like all the others. Gone and forgotten." But that was a lie. She remembered everything. Every smile, every question, every moment of trust she had cultivated and then destroyed. The memories had piled up over the decades until they weighed more than her own bones. That night, she tried to sleep, but the dreams came swiftly. In them, she was young again, standing in the circle of symbols while her own mentor chanted. She felt her life draining away, felt the betrayal burning through her veins like poison. Then the dream shifted. She was both victim and killer, experiencing the ritual from both sides simultaneously, the terror and the terrible necessity, the pleading and the refusal to stop, the curse and the acceptance of it. She woke screaming. This had never happened before. After previous rituals, she had felt guilt, yes, but it faded with time. Sleep had always come eventually. But Amara's curse had changed something fundamental. For 3 days, Mama Khadija couldn't sleep for more than an hour without nightmares. Her renewed body began to show signs of exhaustion that shouldn't have been possible. Dark circles formed under her eyes. Her hands trembled when she tried to prepare medicines. Villagers began to notice. "Mama Khadija, are you well?" asked Obioma, a woman whose son she had saved from fever last year. "Quite well," Mama Khadija lied, but her voice cracked. "You look tired." "I am grieving my apprentice. The mountain took her from me." Obioma nodded sympathetically, but Mama Khadija saw doubt flicker across her face.
Good.
Let them doubt. Let them suspect. It would make no difference. She had power, influence, knowledge. What could they do? But the doubt spread anyway, whispered from door to door like smoke. Mama Khadija heard fragments. 7 apprentices and none survived. My grandmother said the same thing happened with the healer before her. They say the mountain is cursed, or maybe she is. Mama Khadija tried to ignore it, focusing on her work. She healed the sick, delivered babies, prepared remedies. But her hand shook now, and twice she mixed incorrect proportions that could have killed her patients. She caught the mistakes in time, but barely. On the 7th night, without real sleep, she walked back to the river. The 8 faces still stared from the water, but now they were joined by others. The girls her mentor had killed, and that woman's mentor before her. Generations of sacrifice stretching back to some original sin she could barely comprehend. "What do you want from me?" she screamed at the water. The faces said nothing, but Amara's reflection moved again. "Stop. I can't. If I stop, I age. I die. Everything I've built, everything I know, it all ends. Then let it end," the reflection seemed to say. "Let someone else carry the knowledge without the curse." There is no knowledge without the curse. The power and the price are inseparable. But even as she said it, Mama Khadija wondered if that was true. Her own mentor had taught her everything before bringing her to the mountain. The healing arts, the herb lore, the diagnostic skills, none of that required stolen life. Only the eternal youth demanded blood. What if she taught someone everything except the ritual? What if she let herself age naturally, passing on the good she had learned while letting the evil die with her? The thought terrified her more than death itself. To become ordinary. To become mortal. To watch her body betray her year by year until she became the broken thing she had spent lifetimes avoiding. "No," she said to the faces in the water. "No, I've come too far. Sacrificed too much." "You've sacrificed nothing," Amara's reflection said, clearer now, almost audible. "You've made others sacrifice. There's a difference." Mama Khadija staggered away from the river, but the voice followed her, echoing in her mind. In her compound, she found Amara's belongings still scattered about, her sleeping mat, her grinding stone, her half-finished basket weaving. She should have disposed of these days ago, but she hadn't been able to. Now she understood why. Some part of her wanted to remember, needed to remember. With shaking hands, she gathered Amara's things and built a small fire outside. As the flames consumed the material remnants of the girl's life, Mama Khadija finally wept. Not the silent tears she'd shed before, but deep, wrenching sobs that shook her renewed body. She cried for Amara, for blessing, Yatund, Funmi, Nkechi, Chidinma, Zainab, Afalake. For her younger self, who had died on that mountain peak a century ago. For all the girls who would come after, if she continued. And for the first time in 15 years, she asked herself a question she had always avoided. What if she stopped? 3 months passed and Mama Khadija felt the change beginning. It started with a gray hair, then another. A slight stiffness in her joints when she woke. The subtle loosening of skin at her neck. Her 15 years of renewed youth were not supposed to fade this quickly, but Amara's curse was accelerating everything. May you live forever, and may forever feel like drowning. She understood the curse now. It wasn't killing her, it was forcing her to feel every year she had stolen, to experience the weight of unnatural life as the burden it truly was. Forever would not mean eternal youth. It would mean eternal consciousness of what she had done to achieve it. And she was so tired. News arrived that a young girl from a neighboring village showed promise in healing. Her name was Kemi, and she was 13, bright-eyed, eager to learn. The village elders asked if Mama Khadija would take her as an apprentice. The old familiar hunger stirred. Kemi could be the next one. In 12 years, when she reached the right age, another trip to the mountain. Another renewal. Another century of power. Mama Khadija agreed to meet the girl. Kemi arrived on a bright morning, her mother beside her, both nervous and honored. The girl was small for her age, with quick hands and quicker eyes that missed nothing. She reminded Mama Khadija of Amara so much that it physically hurt. "I will teach you," Mama Khadija heard herself say. Kemi's face lit up with joy that was painful to witness. That night, Mama Khadija stood at the river again. The 8 faces watched her from the water. "I can't do it again," she whispered to them. "I can't watch another girl trust me, love me, and then—" The faces said nothing, but their silence felt like permission. Over the next months, Mama Khadija taught Kemi everything. How to identify healing plants. How to set bones. How to diagnose illnesses from symptoms. How to prepare medicines that saved lives rather than taking them. But she taught without grooming, without the subtle manipulation she had used with previous apprentices. She kept Kemi at arm's length emotionally, careful not to inspire the deep devotion the ritual required. And she felt herself aging faster. At night, the nightmares continued, but they began to change. Instead of just remembering the girls she had killed, she dreamed of the ones she might save by stopping. Hundreds of girls across the coming decades who would never know they had escaped a predator disguised as a mentor. 6 months into Kemi's training, Mama Khadija woke one morning unable to stand without pain. Her hands had become gnarled, her back permanently bent. She looked 60 at least, perhaps older. The stolen years were demanding return with interest. Kemi found her struggling to rise and rushed to help. "Mama Khadija, you're sick. Let me call for help." "No," Mama Khadija said firmly. "This is natural. I am simply catching up to my true age. But you're the greatest healer. There must be something. Some things cannot be healed, child. Nor should they be." She spent her remaining strength teaching Kemi the last of her knowledge. The village watched Mama Khadija's rapid decline with confusion and fear. Some whispered about curses. Others spoke of divine punishment. A few elders who remembered far back began to suspect the truth. One evening, Obioma visited, bringing soup. "My grandmother told me stories," Obioma said quietly, "about healers who never aged. About apprentices who disappeared. She said it was an old evil, older than memory." Mama Khadija met her eyes. "Your grandmother was wise. Did you?" Obioma couldn't finish the question. "Yes." The confession felt like liberation and damnation at once. 7 girls. Across more years than you would believe. I took their youth to extend my own. Obioma's hand trembled on the soup bowl. Amara? She was the last. And she cursed me. Not to die, but to feel. To remember. To finally face what I had become. You should be punished. Cast out. Killed. I know. Mama Khadija closed her ancient eyes. But I'm dying anyway. The curse is destroying me from the inside out, making me experience every stolen year as guilt and pain. My punishment is living long enough to regret everything. Obioma was silent for a long moment. And Kemi? Is safe. I will not take another. The cycle ends with me. Why should I believe you? Because, Mama Khadija said, opening her eyes, I have taught her everything except the ritual. When I die soon, I think, she will have all my healing knowledge and none of my evil. The good will survive. The corruption will die with me. Obioma stood to leave, her face a mixture of disgust and something that might have been pity. My grandmother also said that the hardest thing for evil to do is stop being evil. Perhaps you have finally done one hard thing honestly. After she left, Mama Khadija sat in her dark hut, feeling her body continue its rapid collapse. Every breath hurt. Every heartbeat was an effort. But for the first time in over a century, she felt something like peace. The faces still came in her dreams, but now they simply watched. No accusations. No curses. Just witnessing. I'm sorry, she whispered to them. I know it's not enough. I know nothing I do now can undo what I did then. But I'm sorry. Amara's face appeared clearer than the others. And though it might have been delirium, Mama Khadija thought she saw the slightest nod of acknowledgement. Not forgiveness. She would never deserve that. But acknowledgement that she had finally stopped. Mama Khadija died on the first day of the rainy season, her body finally catching up to her true age of 143 years. The village gave her a modest burial, not the grand ceremony she might have received years before. The truth of what she was had spread, whispered, but not quite spoken aloud. Kemi continued her work as a healer, using everything Mama Khadija had taught her. She saved lives, delivered babies, prepared medicines. And when people asked if she would take an apprentice, she always said yes, but she taught them in the village, surrounded by others, with no secrets and no mountains. She never learned about the ritual at Agodo mountain peak. The symbols carved in the stone slowly weathered away, untouched and unused. And in the forest, by the river where 8 faces once appeared in the water, there was only clear reflection. The curse finally broken, the cycle finally ended, the price finally, completely paid.